say, get ready for an all-star show. There's 13 games in a Hall of Fame. The cast is vast.
Hello everyone, this is Mike Mullis for the original Next Level Gaming. Welcome to our review of one of the best compilations I have ever seen in a video game before. This is Rare Replay. So you're Rare. You're turning 30 years old, and you want to celebrate that with your fans. What do? You put together one of the most comprehensive and valued compilations that has ever been seen. Rare Replay is that compilation, spanning back 30 games that made Rare famous. So a little history based on a couple of the games in this collection. Before Rare was created in 1985 by Chris and Tim Stamper, the two co-founders actually had a development company called Ultimate Play the Game. Ultimate Play the Game put out a number of successful titles on the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC, and MSX and Commodore 64 computers, way back in the 80s. Now back in that time when these games launched, they were very highly praised. At the time, these were the best that you could get graphically. Games like Jetpack and Saberwolf and Attack, these were the top of their class in games on systems like the ZX Spectrum. The truth of the matter was that nobody in the business was doing games like this that looked, at the time, this good and had this much color and this much diverse gameplay. It just wasn't happening back then. The question is do they hold up now? Well, yes and no. They're faithful ports of the old versions of the games, but in this day and age of high-tech gaming with high graphics and analog sticks and 700 buttons, the games don't really hold up as well for me as they used to, except for one. In 2007, Rare brought back Jetpack in a game called Jetpack Refueled for the Xbox 360. It had enhanced graphics, much more challenging gameplay, and really, even though the original is not my cup of tea, this version seems to be one that I can't stop playing. And I go back to every now and again on the 360, so I'm glad to see it come forward in backward compatibility here. So here's where we get to the real meat of Rare Replay, and that's the actual games made by Rare. Now, believe it or not, Rare was a company that was created by the same two guys that created Ultimate Play the Game. They did so kind of in the background just as they were selling off the Ultimate Play Game catalog to US Gold, which later they bought back in 1988, which is why a lot of these older games can be included in the Rare Replay. But everybody really knows Rare for what they did with Nintendo and Microsoft. Their partnership with Nintendo brought many incredible games, such as Battletoads and RC Pro-Am and Conquer and Banjo-Kazooie. And these were spread out amongst the Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES, and then the Nintendo 64. So these games were what really made Rare what everybody knew them to be today. This is where the value of the Rare Replay collection really comes into play. I could really do without the beginning third of the collection, all the Ultimate Play of the Game stuff. It's cool to have it on here, but it's games I'm not going to play a whole lot of. But starting with Battletoads and RC Pro-Am, this is where I've spent a lot of my time, and so will you, because these games hold up incredibly well. It's also real nice that if there was a good sequel to the game, it's included in Rare Replay. So RC Pro-Am 2 is in here too. One of the things I really give Rare credit for is how they were able to port some of these games from the Nintendo 64 to the Xbox One. So as you see here with Conker's Bad Fur Day, it's not an Xbox 360 backward compatible title. This isn't Live and Reloaded. This is the original from the N64, and it looks really good. They did the same thing with Jet Force Gemini, and that looks really good too. They also did a pretty good job of taking care of the difference in controls between the Nintendo 64 controller, which as we know had a Z button and some different controls with the analog than the Xbox One controller does. And with Jet Force Gemini, they even mapped in a quote-unquote modern-day control scheme to make it a little easier. But I'll be honest with you, the original controls do me just fine. Also, games like Killer Instinct Gold from the arcade, which were only available originally when you bought the Killer Instinct package for the Xbox One, is included. And, of course, I mentioned Battletoads earlier. So now we get to the Microsoft part of the collection, and one of the surprises for me was Grabbed by the Ghoulies, an original Xbox game, and one of Rare's first for the platform. Now, the game wasn't just ported over from the Xbox, it was given a 1080p and 60 frame per second upgrade, and everything looks just so much nicer than it did before. Now, this game wasn't as critically acclaimed as many of the other Rare games, but I really enjoyed it. My wife actually really enjoyed it. We played and beat through the game, and it was nice to have it here. This is a game that you can also find on our YouTube channel. There's an NLG Let's Play for it, and check that out. So to round out the Rare Replay collection, thanks to the Xbox One now being able to do backward compatibility, Rare brought in their most popular of the Xbox 360 titles that they put out. Some of them are, of course, the ports of the old Nintendo 64 games like Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie and Perfect Dark. But they also brought over their Xbox 360 originals like Perfect Dark Zero and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Now, of course, these are the games that we're going to play the most. And even though people didn't really like Perfect Dark Zero, I say give it a chance. If you did not get a chance to play it on the 360, I never thought it was bad as people said it was. Of course, it's not the original Perfect Dark, but I think it's a worthy successor and at least gives you an idea of where Rare wanted to go with the series. Now, the only games that you're really not going to get from the 360 here are the Kinect Sports games, because, of course, the Xbox One's backward compatibility does not work with the original Kinect. It's kind of a bummer because Kinect Sports really was good when it came out, and it would have been nice to have, but unfortunately it's just a technical limitation. So we could be done here, and the review would be over, but there's more to this game. Rare added something called Snapshots. Now, each game has them, and what the Snapshots are, they are various extra things you do within each game. They're kind of like challenges, and they may have nothing to do with the actual game and might even change the rules of the game. For example, here in RC Pro-Am, I don't have to necessarily finish first, but I have to finish the race with an average speed. If I do that, and if I finish any of the snapshots, I get a special stamp. So one of the last features in Rare Replay for this review is their extras section. Now, all these stamps that you pick up can unlock movies and unlock concept art and even some old music. You get a chance to see some of the behind-the-scenes movies of how Banjo was created or how the Battletoads came to be. You can see concept art of games that were not developed or things that are maybe for the future, perhaps. You can even hear music. It's really cool. So what's my final judgment on Rare Replay? This game is a very, very, very incredible value for $30. If you think about it, it's $1 a game. And even if you don't want to play the first set of games, you still have everything from the Nintendo to now that will take up your time and is just a joy to go back and play again. This game gets a top-notch 9 out of 10 from me. It's just one of the best compilations I've ever seen in a video game, and I've been at this a very, very long time. The truth of the matter is, I would have paid $30 just for the Xbox 360 backward compatible titles. I would have paid $30 just for the Grabbed by the Ghoulies remaster. And I wouldn't have blinked an eye if Rare charged $60 for this entire compilation. But they didn't, which makes it one of the most incredible values out there. So that's going to do it for our review of Rare Replay. As always, if you like this video, please click like, please subscribe to our channel, and please leave comments below. If you agree or disagree with me about the review, I'd love to hear from you about it. Also, tell me what your favorite game in the Rare Replay is. That's going to do it for me. This is Mike Mullis from the original Next Level Gaming, and as always, play on, gamers.